Welcome to the Progeny Podcast. Today's guest is Mullah Ali Fadhil. Ali Fadhil arrived in the UK in the early 90s after his family were exiled from Iraq. Ali Fadhil gained an Islamic studies degree. Ali Fadhil has become a pioneer in propagating the message of Islam through eulogies and poetry recitation, predominantly in the language of English. He often travels the world reciting poetry in English, inspiring the youth to connect with the Ahlulbayt. He has produced many works during the 10 years he has been in this field, utilizing modern contemporary rhythms to enhance the spread of Islam through albums and films. Ali Fadhil, welcome to the Progeny.
Oh, so we start our show?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. It was such a brilliant intro. I thought that was it. You're going to cut and then we'll come back in. No, I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for coming to the Progeny.
My pleasure.
Making time. You know, we've wanted to have you for a long time, so it's an honor to have you. I'm going to start by speaking about your background. The fact that you're from an Iraqi background and your family were exiled because of the Ba'athist regime. Growing up, that was always in the back of your mind. I'm guessing that fact that you're here but your heart is in Iraq, or no?
No, actually, yeah, honestly speaking, no. Yeah, I mean, when we grew up, you see, we grew up, but the first and foremost, the most important thing in our family was the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. So if Iraq happened to be in danger, or the Ahlulbayt shrines and so on and so forth were in danger, then yeah, we would refer back to Iraq. And Iraq was only because of a family affiliation or a Ahlulbayt kind of affiliation. But for me personally, growing up, I had nothing to do with Iraq. Sorry, Ali. Even my parents, like, again, they obviously spoke the language. They had the family there. We have Iraqi traditions and Iraqi cultures. But do I think about, I'm growing up here in London, but my heart is in Iraq and my heart is in Dijla and Forat, and nah, I'm sorry, bro. Nah. Not that I have anything against Iraq, obviously, but I was more or less born and bred in the UK, and so I see myself as a British Shia Iraqi, if you want to do the whole identity stuff. I don't know what comes first, and I don't care, but essentially for me personally, and that thing where, you know, growing up in London and having your heart in Iraq, it just wasn't for me.
A lot of people have this identity crisis sometimes. Do you think because you came here really young, you didn't sort of... Because I'm guessing how old were you?
I was one.
Oh, okay.
One and a half.
So it's literally born...
I was born and bred in the UK. And so identity for me wasn't that I guess because of my family upbringing. You see, there's a difference because there are families who are very much involved within society and community, and they had positions outside of the religious bubble that they built for themselves, and so they had to learn how to adapt to the new environment. But for me, my parents were very much within the religious bubble. So my father was a lecturer, my mother was, or still is, a reciter for the female, or for the sisters within her community. Yeah, and so they didn't really need to kind of integrate within society and find out about their new environment that they built or they came into, and so it wasn't a question of, okay, here, Ali, this is, you know, your new land is the UK. We need to find out what they're all about. It's nothing to do.
But your family, I'm guessing, from your community, which is the community of Rasul A'zam, with the Karbala'i background, you were sort of the first family, or one of the first families to be here. So I'm guessing, you know, your family were one of the first to sort of start a community for the Muslim Iraqi Shia from Iraq, and if I want to be specific, from Karbala. Do you remember that? You know, that the community Husseiniya meeting up.
Yeah, I remember. Without fail, every single Friday we would go to this community. Now, whether it was in... if my mind remembers, it was close to Edgware Road. There was a house. It was one of those side roads next to what's currently called Abrar House.
Yeah,
there's that road, and it has the 3-story terraced buildings. It was in one of those, and I think that one of those houses was one of the families. It was their own house, and so for the way it started off was week to week, it was in people's houses, and then they managed to rent out the school. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the
upper school.
Upper school. Yeah. It's not really
North Westminster.
North Westminster Upper School. Yeah. And every week we had. I till this day I remember it was Muharram in the summer, because growing up I remember Muharram always being cold because it was during the cold months. And Ramadan used to be also kind of close towards the cold months as well, because it's 3 or 4 months apart. And I remember it was Muharram, and then there was an issue of like Salah at 9:30, but Latam was still going on, and still people were preparing the qiyamah and stuff. And so but it was from house to house, and the whole idea behind that is the people that were exiled, or the families that were exiled from Iraq, specifically from Karbala. They grew up with a tradition, and that tradition is to commemorate the births and the martyrdoms of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. So remembering their births and their martyrdoms. The way they do that is they create a program where everyone comes together. A sheikh, an alim, a scholar would come and speak about the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. And if it's a sad occasion, then a radud or a reciter would come up and recite. And if it's a happy occasion, likewise, the reciter would come out and recite. They had traditions that they wanted to keep hold of. Now, the reason why they wanted to keep hold of this is because, as I mentioned, when they came into the country, they weren't really too keen on integrating within the wider society. They wanted to keep their bubble close to them. There are a couple of reasons. Number one is because they wanted to safeguard what they thought the future of their children should be. They didn't want the dhikr of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam to be removed because they're living in a foreign land. And so they created this bubble of tradition and culture and commemoration and latmiyat and zinjil and qima and whatever the Karbala tradition was at the time. So when you're growing up with that and that bubble, all of a sudden the parents thought, okay, and the children were like, okay, I'm now in school. And so when I'm in school for 6-7 hours at a time, I'm learning about this new place that I'm growing up in, but at the same time I'm still tied down or tied to this culture and religion. It wasn't an issue for us, I didn't mind, because I loved going to Rasulullah on a Friday. They were my main friends. My main friends weren't at school. My main friends were people from outside of school. And that was every week we'd go to Rasulullah, had a tennis ball in our hand, play pat ball, have Hajj Radhi shout at us. Anyway, these little things we grew up with. And so an issue of identity, I was kind of only until later on, 16, 17, 18, when due to the recitations and due to the albums and the CDs and being a bit more well known and being invited out to different communities, then did I have a bit more of a, okay, so the world is bigger than Karbalais and Shias, specifically from Rasulullah. And it was a bit of a learning curve for me, but it was a very interesting learning curve for me because I had to adapt quickly. And the good thing about that was my dad was never a kind of a hardcore Karbala'i, Shirazi kind of thing. No. He was like, look, Baba, if you get invited to anyone else, go. And he actually used to get criticized for this. People like, hold on, in one time he had a Muharram Majlis. He's probably going to kill me for this, but one time he had a Muharram Majlis, and he's very much known for a Shirazi background. And he had a Muharram Majlis, there was pictures taken, and he had the picture of Sayyid Khamenei and Sayyid Khomeini either side of him. And everyone, this got circulated within Rasulullah. Oh, Sheikh Fadhil, how could he do this? Like, are you serious? Like, I don't care that they're affiliated to certain people. I am giving a majlis for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Khalas. That's it. That's my main barometer of how I define you. How much do you love Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam? Not whether you follow this manager or that manager. Yeah?
So you grew up in Rasul A'zam. Every Friday you were there, and then obviously they had the mosque in Cricklewood.
Yep.
Not anymore, sadly. How much of it was only Friday, but obviously Ramadan, Muharram, wasn't just 10 days in Rasul A'zam. It was always from the 1st to the 40th,
2 months and 8 days.
Yeah,
to be exact. How
much of that has impacted the Ali Fadhil I see in front of me today?
Very much so, man. That's exactly that. That's how I know the world. That's how I see the world.
Through Hajj Radhi.
Through Hajj Radhi, God bless him. Through Sheikh Rahman, God bless him. Through Sayyid Qasim, God bless them. God bless them all. Yeah, okay, there are certain things that we can say could have been better or improved, but would I take back, or do I regret growing up in Rasulullah? 100% no. because it molded who I am today. Right? And that's why important, again, the first environment that you grow up in is what shapes you and how you see the world in the future. And that's why for me, it took a lot to rewire what I had first been connected with. Zian? Not allowed to be here, not allowed to be there, don't like this person, don't like that person, and this, and that. And that had to really, really think about it deeply, read about it, find out, speak. The more I spoke to people, the more I realized actually the world is bigger than Rasul A'zam in northwest London. The world is much, much bigger than that. And I didn't realize that until later on. And so, yeah, I mean, but would I take back what I learnt? And would I take back and do I regret what I learnt and the way? No. It taught me everything from the love of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and the love for the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam. And this stuff is, we all know that. But at a young age, I didn't know that. And I didn't realize that this is happening to me. This is the important thing. With kids, maratih, what we do is religion. Like, you know, you got to love the Ahlulbayt, Imam al-Hussein, try and teach them. But do they understand? No. Did I understand why I was doing latam? No. Did I understand why I was dressed up in white on Layt al-Ashir? No. Did I understand why Zinjir? No. But I grew up in that environment, which later on, it became part and parcel of who I am. And then later did I educate myself. The responsibility here for the kids as well is to educate yourself on why you're doing this later on. Not at the age of 5 ta'al fahm and make them understand. You can't. But as long as they're living in a safe environment, they're growing up in an environment where the love of the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam and the Prophet is there and every week drummed into them, not directly. And I'm not saying like sit them down. This is I guess the mistake we can say is they tried to lecture us every single week. It didn't work. I just wanted to go play football. Yeah. I didn't care that there was. I wanted to go see my friends, but as long as that environment that I see, I remember till now, there are certain things that I see. It's like, oh wow, this is amazing. The mash'al.
Oh, okay.
For example, the lights that they used to prepare in the black, and they used to prepare. I used to go in like 2 weeks before Muharram.
The passion of people that you see.
That for me was inspiring. That for me.
Would you put your son through the same experiences that you went through? So now,
very good question.
Yeah, would you put him through that, knowing that you've gone through it? Would you say, I'm happy for my son to go through exactly the same?
Exactly the same?
Yeah, go exactly through the same. Maybe not the Northwest upper school, but I'm saying, the environment, them getting sometimes lectured, getting a little pinch on the ear, little slap on you'd put him through.
I'd put him through it again. Yeah, whatever.
Because you turned out okay. Is that what it is? Is that why you answer yes?
Yes, because now that I understand, because the thing is, there was a major like language barrier back in the day as well. Don't forget, my mum and dad can speak to me to a certain degree, but I had to kind of learn the language for them to be able to. My dad was always there to Sean, make me understand the wider concepts of things. My mum was there as the implementer. Salat, Samit, this. My dad was like more. He kind of took the relaxed approach, and he would give me the understanding of why this is important.
But he'd come in if he had to.
He'd come in. But my mum was the implementer. She was the one that was, to the extent. This is the extent. TV Muharram, no. No TV in Muharram. You're wearing black. Rasul A'zam, you have to wear black, and you have to wear white on Layt al-Ashir, and so on. Everything, all of those stuff.
These were set rules.
Set rules. You have to
follow.
You have to follow. And I love that because there's a good balance.
But I asked you if you put your son, you said yes. But you're not putting him through that, and you have that option.
So
are you putting him through that, do you think?
Yes, I would, because now...
But are you now?
Oh, am I now? No.
Okay. So why not?
Because there's no place that I can take him to that has that kind of vibe. And not only due to COVID, but
the same mosque is there, other than the locations changed, but the same people are there. So
things have changed?
How?
The things have changed. They're not. You see, look, the people that I saw who were so passionate about the latum, and even to the details of the chai, for example. And these things are important to me. Even the small-minded, they were so passionate about it back in those days.
Are they not passionate today?
I don't see them as involved as they were before. Things happen, obviously, life changes, and you have to kind of give the baton to the younger generation. And I can see that they have given the younger.
They have or they haven't?
But it's a bit too late.
They have or they haven't?
They have, I can't criticize them that much. They have, yeah. They've given the opportunity, but I think the opportunity was a bit too late in the stage, because look, if you would have given it to them 10 years ago, not now, if you would have given it to them 10, 15 years ago, the responsibility of leading an organization, then things would have been different now. But they gave it to this 10 years late.
Were there people 10 years ago that would take up the baton and lead?
100%. I was one of them. I wanted an opportunity at any given chance. And this is the thing. Again, I don't. There are good things and bad things about the center, which is great. The fact that they had these things going on, which was great, but giving the responsibility to a younger person, that was the sticking point. And that was just like, we can even practice. For example, it could be as simple as the dammam, that thing. We were in awe of this massive drum that was used for one of the reenactments, for example. And I was intrigued by that. But they'd make us, this is the sad thing about, they'd make us practice every single day leading up to that night. And on that night, the men would come in wearing their white dishdasha. Okay, move aside, please. We've got it. It's like, what? Why did I practice then for the last 6-7 days? Just to keep me busy? Are you serious? From my personal point of view, I wanted the chance when I was reaching like 15, 16. I wanted the chance to recite, and I wasn't given it. I was given it Methalan.
With recitation. Let's start with recitation. When was the first time you got on a mumbar and you recited? You remember? No, ever. When it was...
Ever?
Yeah, in public, not at home. I'm sure you, in front of your family, you might have sat and read for the family, your grandparents. I'm saying, when was the first time you sort of had that chance where you're on the stage, you're getting on the pulpit and you're starting the azar?
I can't really tell you. I don't remember. But there was one time...
Your first memory, maybe.
My first memory of when it clicked for me. Of when I thought, okay, wow, that was different to what I've always been doing. And ironically, it was in Dar al-Islam.
Okay.
Which was down the road.
Yep.
And I had finished a 10-night majlis. And there was this thing about... Muharram, yeah. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was 10 nights. I don't know. I was doing a couple of things for Salah Adam, but it was again just things on the Sahar. I was doing it for the youth over there. It 10 nights for the youth, and I still remember Sayyid Murtada al-Husseini. He was the one organising it from back in those days until now.
God bless. No.
Yeah. But he was organising it, having the camera and everything like that, and
God bless him.
I was just doing it. And do you know what? It was in a tent within a car park. Till this day, I remember.
Are we talking CYC?
Not really CYC. It was like the end of CYC, the beginning of new things. Yeah, the beginning of.
But during CYC, you were reciting.
I was. But is that a mimbar? I tell you, because you said mimbar. That kind of style in front of men.
Yeah.
This is the first time I can remember it being significant and changing for me.
You started in Arabic or English?
I started in Arabic.
Oh, you started in Arabic.
Look, to go back to the beginnings.
Yeah.
Arabic was with. It wasn't in a majlis, Husseiniya style. It was in houses. My dad used to say, bring me with him. I used to go to majalis with him when he used to give lectures. And one of the times he said to me, look, prepare. You've been reading this qasida night in, night out to us every single day.
Khabbalatna.
Yeah. If you know it off by heart, come with me. Good luck, Saif, I'll do it.
How old are you?
I was 8, 9.
And then you recited in front.
And then he said to me, to the host of the majlis, it was just a house majlis. These house majlis, they happen all the time.
Yeah, of course.
House majalis. I came to the house majalis, and he came. I got the paper with me. I said, Ibni عنده فتح قصيدة. Can he read? He said, yeah.
It's one of them ones.
So I got up and I read.
Why do you think you were reading at home? You were talking of this incident. Is there because again, I'm not saying there was, but you said your mother had set rules for you, do this.
So that was
there pressure to say, Mullah Ali, you have to be a reciter. Your dad's a sheikh. Your mother's a mullah. You have to be. Was it? Did you feel there was pressure?
Not at all. Never did my mum say to me, you are going to be a reciter when you grow up. Make sure you do this and do this and do this. Never once. Neither did my dad either. And it was just something that because again, it was always in the background. It was always in the background. And back in those days, it was only in the car on a tape.
Cassette, Allah.
Al-Cassette, cassette back in the days.
Proper cassette.
Then we used to have it in the car and then just repeat.
Same قصيدة. باسم كربلائي.
كل قطرة دم بشرياني, all that one. Then that was just every single.
Until you memorized it.
Until I memorized it. And then it moved into, I think it was a CD, back in those days. And then it moved on to kind of like videos. I'm not how, anyway. That was always there in the background. So it was wired into my mind. Latmiyat. And I used to always dend in with myself and just whenever I could, I would recite.
MashaAllah.
But it wasn't in a formal setting of practice and lessons. No. I've never been taught once in my life how to do this and how
like
to do
maqamat and all
Never.
that. Someone sat you, your dad sat you down. Because mashallah, obviously your dad's got a beautiful voice.
I like his voice.
Not that I've heard your mother's voice, but obviously because non-mahrams don't listen. But I've heard your mother's one of the most famous reciters, and she travels the world as well, from what I know, and gives majalis and recites obviously.
Yep.
So she's not only just reciting, from my understanding,
Yeah.
as well as your sister. So it's like in your blood, you have this natural beautiful voice.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought maybe this was like something that your family or your parents pushed you towards.
No. It's
They pushed you towards khidmah, service,
yes.
but not exactly this.
It could be khidmah in any way, shape or form. But as long as you're ikhdiming and you are serving, then they're happy. But if I happen to have chosen the recitation route, then that's fine. They never once sat us down and said, Fatima, Sarah, Fulan, Mehdi,
Yalla,
you are going to be reciters. Yalla, this is your first lesson. The good thing about mothers is that through repetition you get to practice, because my mum would sit down and then obviously my sisters would sit down next to her. And the rule of the majalis over there is basically any reciter that wants to recite, you get your books, you sit next to the mullah,
And then it's your turn.
and then it's your turn.
I know this sounds a bit nar, but I really want to attend one of these majalis one day. Not that I'm allowed.
It's quite fun. When I was young, it was quite fun to see. Yeah, now I remember from about 5-6 years old. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say 5-6 years ago I used to attend.
No.
Who's got the better voice, in your opinion? This is going to kill you. Your father or your mother? Who do you think? Because you know what I've heard? I heard once, someone related to me, said that Ali اليوم read this qasida. She read this. I know it was a Basim qasida, I don't remember. And she goes, this person that's related to me, she said she read it so good, she actually read it than Basim himself. So who's got the better voice?
My mum by far. My mum, subhanallah, may Allah bless her and give her a long life. She has this. I've never sat down in a majlis my mum's actually reciting before. I've only heard her off the phones.
Okay.
Phone or recordings here and there, but I've never actually sat down. But recently, we've had a couple of situations that have happened in our life. Yeah, for example, certain people have passed away, and so we've had majalis regularly. The first time I sat down and my mum was giving her formal majlis, from sallallahu alayhi ya Abu Abdullah all the way to the end. And I kid you not, just her sallallahu alayhi ya Abu Abdullah, and I was like,
wow,
what the hell's happened to me? And I don't usually cry quickly. It takes quite not quite a lot. The story of Abu Abdullah is sad, obviously, but there are certain voices that can hit you. Sayyid Jasim al-Tawjawi, Allah yarahmah, may Allah bless his soul. He had that. You
could just say Ya Hussein and then you're gone.
You could just say it. Yeah. Do you know why? Because it's the heritage that he built. It's not just him as a reciter, but it's what he stood for. And then so when I was sitting there, I was like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, okay, this is. And she was powerful, and she was really powerful. So my mum, to answer that question, well, my dad's really cute. My dad tries, and he the thing is, he also gives a lot of importance to latmiyat and nasheed. Like, for example, if he ever goes to a majlis, let's just say in a certain country that latmiyat isn't really important to them, and they don't have a radud,
he'll read latmiyat afterwards.
He will take off his amama, then take out a qasida that he's prepared. He'll ask me, or he'll ask my mom, or even ask my sisters, give me a qasida for this night. Take off the amama. I say saba. Literally, I say saba. Everyone get up, please. Take off your shirts. Let's start doing latam. And he'd start doing the latam as well. Actually, there's a funny story one time. Me and him were both reciting in America. So he was reciting in a place, and I was reciting for 10 nights in another place. However, the host of the majlis that my dad was going to, they had they didn't have latom a lot. Then they had one night here, one night there, just random. So my dad said to listen, from 5 nights on, from 5th night onwards,
let's bring Ali.
My son's free, let's bring him. They said, yeah, okay, no, why not? So for the first night, second night, from the second night, yani the sixth night when I came in, the first night I came in on the 5th, it was just a bit, yani, it was difficult to get them going. Then so I was like, Baba, I need a bit of help. What's going on? Okay, no problem, I'll sort it out. For then the second night I came in, I had to rush from another matches to come in. So then I come in, I see all them, they're all ready, and my dad is already starting and everything. So when I came in and I recited, I was like, it was good. There was a passion, there was a vibe about them. So when I finished, and then I said to him, I was like, Baba, did you see? The
Mashallah, that's very good.
The majlis is really good. It's like, I can't say what he said, but essentially he
gave them a telling off.
He said to me, so I can't really say, I don't know if I want to say it on live. He said to me, Ibn so-and-so, Zian, I've been teaching them for the last 3 hours, Zian, for you to come in, everything's on a plate for you, Zian, and you think, you did the hard work. I did the hard work,
He prepared everything for you.
Yeah, he prepared everything. So he if there's a void when it comes to latmiyat and to sha'air al-Husayniyah, he will fill it, be it an ashid or be it latmiyat. So yeah, he's cute in that sense. He gives it a try, but my mum is the more professional, especially when it comes to voice. Sorry,
May Allah bless Ali.
Yeah.
So going back to, you started in Arabic reciting, because Mullah Ali Fadhil today is someone that's known around the Shia world. You've traveled to Australia, parts of Africa, Middle East, America, Canada, parts of Europe. And I don't think anyone in the Shia world who speaks English would not recognize the name Mullah Ali Fadhil. Of course, that's an honor I think you've been granted by Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam himself, no doubt. And I believe, and I know you personally, because of your sincere intentions in this field that you're in. But I want to ask how the English started, because other than hearing Osama al-Attar, may Allah bless him, Sheikh Osama now, other than hearing him, I don't ever remember English recitation in mosques. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Sheikh Osama was probably the first, maybe I don't know.
One of the first,
One of the first. And how did you take that on? Because, at the time, I'll be honest with you, there was a lot of people that were like, they cringe when they're like, English, I can't take it.
And they still do.
They still do. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. I'm talking about those that are my age would cringe. Maybe, I'm not talking about the elders.
Even after that.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the reason why they cringe is they have a right to. Liesh, because the English that was used was no, it was basic, but it was to the melody that they have been accustomed to hearing only Arabic. And they have a right to, because from a technical point of view, you cannot use the English vocabulary. Well, you can to a certain extent, but you can't use the English vocabulary onto a melody which is inherently West English. Maqam, the words don't fit the maqam. So you're going to have to prolong certain vowels that you cannot prolong. You have to quicken certain words which mumbles the pronunciation and therefore the meaning. And so there was a lot of I can see why they're like, that feels a bit weird to listen to, because they're accustomed to that melody, Iraqi melody. They're used to it being Arabic. To put English onto that, it's like, However, to another background, Khawajas Pakistan, for example, Iranian, whatever other background, that sounds nice because they're not accustomed to it.
Is that why Mullah Ali Fadhil is more appreciated by non-Iraqi communities?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Because you get the Iraqis, they inherently just don't really like listening to Iraqi latmiyat but put in English. They might give it a go if if the maqam is close. For example, you can choose a certain melody across the spectrum. You can choose a certain melody that is يعني almost neighbors with the Eastern melody, like the Iraqi style, for example, or the Arab. زين. You can choose something which is very, very close, but not exactly. And that might work. But choosing, I can't really put it into words, but choosing a maqam, an Eastern maqam, Middle Eastern maqam, خلينا نقول, for example, which is very far away from the English, especially when it comes to the English words, trying to put onto that, it becomes very, 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 very difficult even to listen to. Yeah, I can see why. I can see why they have this issue. And I can see why non-Arabs, non-Iraqis, like that. By the way, even from a technical point of view, when I started off, I used Basim tunes. So for them to be able to listen to, you know, if they're used to listening to Basim all the time, Basim Karbala'i, and all of a sudden you put an English to it, of course there's going to be a bit of a what's this?
But
I mean,
what you see with the English, I think, you know, from my memory, it started off, you know, as you mentioned, maybe basic English language, and then it sort of took off, and then it was sort of like a learning curve, I feel, as you were doing it, because even though I mentioned Sheikh Osama, I think it was only one Muharram that he did it on, that I remember, and then, but you sort of continued with it, and then it was sort of, you were setting the rules of how this is going to work out.
Yeah.
And you know, you started off with doing the sort of the traditional Iraqi melody, and then you sort of developed that, I feel.
The poetry got better, صراحة. And that I have to give
Nouri Sardar.
Yeah, my a shout out to Nouri, because Nouri, he grasped the idea of Arabic poetry, and he put it into words in English that is easy to understand and fits the tune and fits the structure of a poem. And it made my life very, very easy, in the sense that, Nouri, this is my tune, please write to this. And he would get the syllables right, he would get the structure right, he would get, even to a certain extent, he was so technical. Like, for example, if he knew that there was a certain word in the Arabic melody that needed to be prolonged, he wouldn't choose a vowel. I think that's like, because I don't know. He wouldn't choose a certain word that he knows that will sound really cringy if you prolong that.
So he changed the game changer.
He changed.
Because Sajjad Jihad, if I'm not mistaken, wrote maybe
also,
one.
he did, yeah.
Sayyid Ali Khalkhali maybe wrote poetry, and then Nouri probably came because he put so much maybe time and effort into it. He sort of changed that whole.
It wasn't Sajjad's thing, and Sajjad Jihad,
he done it.
May Allah bless him. He wrote a lot for me when I was at a young age.
And when Fatima came to Karbala, which is probably was written by him, if I'm not mistaken.
The story was actually quite interesting about when Fatima came to Karbala, because till today, I still get mothers and parents telling me,
requesting that qasida.
Not just requesting it, but saying, you know, may Allah bless you because my son is listening to this. Every time we're in the car, Mum, can you put when Fatima came to Karbala? And so that stemmed from 15 years ago, I think. Maybe a long time ago. And the way it started actually was we were constantly writing poetry back and forth and reciting, and I used to always be around him and his friends, and because he was quite older than me. And actually the way I grew up is actually staying with people like yourself and Amir Jawad, for example, Sayyid Ammar, and many other people. And I used to just sit there, because I was younger than you guys, I didn't want to take part in your conversations. I just sit there as a sponge and just take in the conversations that you were having, mostly about the Ahlulbayt anyway. And so I used to sit down with him a lot, and he used to sit down with a lot of rawadid, a lot of reciters, most of the time. And so
He's good friends with a lot of them, yeah.
A lot of them. And so I used to always sit down as a sponge, just take in what they're saying. This guy was talking this technical term and that technical term. So I learned a lot just by listening to people. I hadn't listened to their conversations. And so Sajjad, he one time he it was like, I think 1:30 or 2:30 in the morning, and then he called me. He's like, are you okay? Are you dreaming of me? What's going on? He goes, Ali, just write these words. I said, what do you mean? Just look, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, just write these words. Safe. So then I got a pen and paper.
There was no WhatsApp them days.
No. We had to call. It was MSN back in those days as well. So he called me. He said to me, write down when Fatima came to Karbala. Zainab said, don't look, Ya Zahra. Zainab said, go back, oh brother, they've killed my. Go back, oh
mother,
they've killed my brother. Zainab said, don't look, Ya Zahra. I wrote down قال لي
That's
good
the
night.
mustahil.
And قال لي good night.
Yeah.
So the next morning I was like, what's going on? What do I do with this? He goes, Ali, I'm going to write a poem. This is something,
This is
a
the-
dream that I had, and I'll write a poem. Inshallah, you can use it whenever you want. It wasn't for a certain occasion. There was no occasion. He just randomly thought about it. He dreamt about the situation. He
But
came-
that qasida is, you always say, like, there's qasidas that are, we use the word in Arabic, mukhallada
Yeah.
or mubaraka, or
Yeah.
that qasida that stands out. Like, you'll always have, يا ليل طول ساعاتك أبو بشير يا محلى الوداع بهالمسية حمزة الصغير, I don't know, maybe كل قطرة دم بشرياني باسم, may Allah bless him. And then with English, this one sort of stands out until there was the change, which I want to go into, that curve when then higher was introduced. We asked you to pick a word for progeny today that means something to you, and you picked.
Picked higher. I don't know if that's a G or a 6, but I couldn't find the.
Yeah, I think it's a G.
Yeah, I couldn't find the G, so hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, higher.
Why?
Did I spell it right? Higher.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
yeah, you did. They've been embarrassing.
Sorry. Why? This changed my life. Higher changed everything about who I am, what I was doing, why I was doing it. It changed everything. It even changed for me the way people saw English recitations. And there was a massive transition in my life because, as I mentioned earlier, there are certain things that happened at the age of 17, 18 where I became a bit more exposed to the world. University is one of them. Meeting different communities is another. Ahlulbayt societies coming up. English majalis generally. From the first English majalis that I can remember from St. Mehdi al-Mudarrisi, maybe 20 years ago, I don't know how long ago it was, 15, 16 years ago. That was the start of the English vibe, the boom of English majalis. And I rode that wave with only Arabic style English recitations. It only worked to a certain extent, but obviously people needed to not only see something different and more, but they became accustomed to it. And that's so becoming accustomed to it and just getting used to that recitation, that style of recitation is one. Number two, I then became more involved in Ahlulbayt societies, and with the Ahlulbayt societies, it was all about how do we get the message of the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam to non-Shias, non-Muslims, the wider community. It was all about mass reach. The name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the name of the Ahlulbayt, how do we get this to the wider audience? And I became infatuated by it. I just wanted to, I didn't know how to, because I wasn't taught music, I wasn't taught melodies, I wasn't taught recitations and qasaid and poems. It was literally just practice as you go kind of thing. And so I had one meeting with a guy who called me and said, Ali, I'm from South London. I'm not sure I should name him because he usually wanted to become anonymous.
Maybe not.
Yeah. So he said to me, Ali, I'm from this music group. And I was like, what do you mean music? Yeah, we do music for the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam. And again, this is another major learning curve for me because I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know that was allowed. I thought music haram, music haram, music haram, music haram, regardless, yani. In any way, shape or form. So for him to say, yeah, we're part of a rap group and a music group that do stuff for the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam. I was like, well, how can I help you? And he said, I want to have a meeting with you. I said, fine, let's have a meeting. So we sat down in a cafe, and he said to me, look, he goes, I think you have a voice. Then it's very limited. You've limited yourself to one style, which is fine, but you can do more. And at that time, I was thinking about mass reach and how do I get there and what do I do? Yani ma'qula, are you serious? I can get latmiyat to go for a non-Muslim to listen to a latmiyah and he'll be affected by it. Yani, can it work like that? So this guy came along and said to me, look, you have the voice, but you have zero capabilities when it comes to the Western world. It was a bit of a shock because at that time I was a bit of a somebody, yani. And so for someone to tell me that, it was just like, What do you mean? Like, he goes, yeah, I'm going to be realistic with you. You might be doing well with these Iraqi style.
With your community.
With your community, but this is nothing. You've got zero influence outside, and you have zero capabilities, and you need a lot of work.
Damn. How did you take that?
At first I was like, what was this guy talking about? Because I'm doing really well. Like, people are telling me I'm good.
I'm Mullah Ali Fadhil.
What's
this guy talking about?
What's this guy talking? So then I was like, you know what? Let me hear this guy out, because I was ready to learn. At that stage, I was ready to learn. And so I was like, well, can you teach me? He goes to me, I can only just teach you, but I've got a song. And this is the first time I'm hearing like song and tune and music. And to me, it was like, I can't, inherently I'm like, I'm against this. I'm against this. But there was something in the back of my mind thinking, actually, give it a go. Just give it a go. Zin? قلت له, fine. He goes, I have a song for you. قلت له, قال لي, he sang it there and then. He sang higher to me there and then.
Okay.
In the cafe.
It was his words, his
tune, his melody. The whole thing was his.
Just come and do it, mate. Just come and sing it.
And then he sang it in front of me. And I'm like to myself, what the hell is that? I'm not doing that. Are you serious?
My boys are going to kill me.
They're
going to hear me.
Not only that, I'm like, that is buzz. I'm not going to listen to that. Are you serious? But then at the end of it, Jamalta, I was nice to him. I complimented him, and I was like, yeah, that's really nice. And I think I was like, okay, ma'asalam, bye. And I didn't call him. I was like, I'm not doing that. I didn't like how it sounded. Obviously, I'm in a cafe. There's no mic or anything like that, and it was just him and his voice. Qatay, the poor guy, he had a very good voice for what he was doing in terms of rap and we call ballads, basically, kind of soft melodies. He was brilliant at that. I loved it. Till now I listen to his stuff. But for me to hear it, and again, this is all a learning curve for me. I'm used to a certain culture, certain background, certain melody, and then it realized, okay, so that's how Iraqis see English tatmiyat. Is that how they hear it? And so I thought, no, I don't really want to do this. And then he called me again and goes, look, this is the situation. I've got a studio booked up. What do you think? You know what? I'm going to go give it a go. Because everything is on us. We have a studio. We have the recordings, everything. Just come and record it. Good. Fine. I'll do it. I spoke to a couple of people here as well. Namely, one of them, Sajjad, and other people as well. Listen, this is a situation. What do I do? Give it a go. Might be ishkal. Obviously, in the post-production, you can then start to influence what can and can't be included in terms of music, beats and stuff like that. And I went to the studio. He gave me the lyrics. He goes to me, practice before you come. I practiced as much as I could. He recorded the tune for me. So I went and Haj Mustafa, it took me 17 attempts at one line. Just the opening lyric, the opening sentence. It took me 17 goes, maybe even more. I just could not sing. I can recite. Give me an Arabic melody and I will do it.
You didn't want that. He wanted you to sing.
He wanted me to sing. My throat box, voice box, esophagus, whatever you want to call it,
wasn't used to that.
The strings in my voice box are used to Arabic melodies. I cannot sing. For the life of me, I cannot sing.
What's the first line on Haya, by the way?
Don't leave me.
Don't.
I cannot sing. For it, تعبت وياه. And there were certain situations I'm like, listen, I give up. I don't want to do this. He goes, no, just keep going. You almost got it. He believed in me. He goes, you're almost there. And he was so technical with me. For example, don't leave me. That E, don't leave me, has to be not E. I'm like, I can't hear the difference. No, he goes, E. I cannot hear the difference. Habibi anta, please. He goes, no, you can still do it. For then, after, it took us 3-4 hours, just to do the first opening couple of lines.
Wow.
Yeah. But it took a lot of work. And post-production, a couple of people sat down with us and I could hear it loud. And I'm like, okay, this sounds a bit better. But I am terrified
of
the backlash. Because this is not what I was used to. This is not what I'm used to. This is not what the community is used to. And I know for a fact this is a major change to what everyone's used to. Everyone is scared of change. And it was very apparent as to who was really scared of change for the bad and scared of change for the good. That doesn't make sense. Who were scared of the change because they didn't want basically this to be opening the door to certain things that might happen in the future. By the way, I wasn't the first person to do this anyway. There were a lot of other rawadid in the Arabic world who have started in this vibe of developing the recitation world. I just happened to do it in parallel with them, but on the English side. Arabic side was already on its way, yani. The course has been set for the Arabic world, and today we can see what the results are. Anyway, for people didn't want to... My immediate audience was Iraqis. The people that gave me feedback were Iraqis. The people that criticized or even encouraged me were Iraqis. I didn't know that there was a world outside there that would be able to accept this kind of thing.
But there was.
There was, and not just Iraqis, my immediate feedback. Iraqis from a certain background, Karbala'i, Shirazis. And so obviously the feedback from them directly is going to be, Ali, no, this is haram, it's got music. And so I was very limited to this audience. Because I was limited to this audience, I couldn't see the wider world and how they would react to it.
And
but for me personally, my inherent, what I grew up with, this is wrong. This is wrong on all levels. I couldn't, Best there was something, I spoke to a couple of scholars, I spoke to my dad, I spoke to this person, that person, the situation. What do you think? It might be ishkal.
Go for it.
Fine, I'll go for it. My mistake, the biggest mistake that I made, was to justify why I was doing this. Okay, so the way it was released, it was Shabab al-Sabtain, Majlis. Shabab al-Sabtain are a youth group. They're still operating today, and they would do majalis for Muharram.
May Allah bless them.
Yeah. At that time, it was the sixth night, the eighth night of Qasim alayhi salam, which was known as the youth night, basically remembering the youth. And so me and a friend of mine, again, I'd rather not name names just in case they wanted to stay anonymous. They're like, okay, we're going to release it on this date, which is the 8th of Muharram, and we're going to have a screen.
And we're going to play it.
And we're going to play it there. Full sound, so the 300-400 people that were there will get the first release.
Taste.
The first taste of it. So I was standing behind the curtain, behind the screen, and it was being played. I didn't see people's faces, I just heard the first two lines, and there was a murmur going on. Everything was like, what are we listening to? What is going on? Yeah, what is going on? And then after the first 3 lines, someone started laughing. And then now I'm like, this is a knife through my heart, because this is a Majlis of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and someone's laughing, and I'm facilitating this. This is impossible. And my worst fears came alive.
Which was?
At the end of the qasidah, they started to clap. They started to clap. We're like, I don't do clapping in a Majlis and a Muharram.
8th of Muharram.
And people started to walk out. And so, again, my worst fears.
Saratasa. And then the criticism started.
And then the foot. Add salt to the wound. I took the mic and tried to justify why we were doing this. The world needs change. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam's message should be for everyone, and so on and so forth. And at the end, I apologized.
For?
Just in case I might have upset someone. I apologized.
And you shouldn't have.
Of course I shouldn't have. If I truly... See, this is the thing. If I truly... Because I was half about it already. If I really had the yaqeen and true belief that this is something right and this is something that should be done, why would I need to apologize? Ilman. To people that may or may not have liked it. You like it, you don't like it. My marji', the people that I've spoken to have said it is absolutely okay. Your marji', the way you've grown up with, you think this is wrong or right, that's up to you. But I came out and I apologized. And that was like the first. Once it came online, the feedback for me was about 85% positive.
Very good.
And 15% negative. I had people that I would never have imagined they were even remotely interested in Latmiyat or Anashid or even that side of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. They will probably do Ashura once a year, and only because Imam al-Hussein is a big name for the Shias. Then forget the rest of the Ahlulbayt, but that type of audience I was reaching. And that for me was the barometer for success, yani, in terms of what happened. And alhamdulillah, the track, for obviously through the blessings of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, it reached different audiences. I did a test 3 years later. I did a test. Sorry, it's Wyatt. I did a test 3 years later. My friend told me, look, you can put a track or a song then on this website, and no one knows who the author is, and no one knows who the group is, but professionals and semi-professionals, amateurs, whoever it is, they give their feedback, but not Muslims, just normal English guys, white guys. I don't know who the background. I don't know who the people are, but basically it's like a professional singers forum, basically. So I put it on there.
You put higher.
I put higher. Then I put higher on there, and this is about 3-4 years later. Just to get the review from non-Muslims. And wallah, I kid you not, it was exactly the intention that I had, or we had, the team, of how we wanted to affect people. This sounds like a person that's lost a loved one. This sounds like a sad song. Some of them were like, this is absolute garbage. The auto tune is here in Madri. The technical
those technical bros.
Yeah. It goes, this is rubbish. But other people were like, yani, this is really nice. It touched them. And so, you see, the whole point behind this, and essentially the reason why we even started this, is because non-Muslims, even if we want to, you see, there's this thing where we have to kind of like, we have to reach out to them and say, look, this is the Ahlulbayt alayhimus salam, this is Islam, how peaceful we are, blah, 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 blah. But from a recitation point of view, I can't do that with a latmiyah. Because your average Joe is not going to understand latum, the beats, the words, Karbala, and he doesn't understand Imam al-Hussein and Imam and words like this. He doesn't understand that. He understands values. Love, hope, sincerity, peace. He understands values. Justice. So we can, the way we reach them is the common understanding that we have between us is values. I can't come to him and say Yazid 14 centuries ago or however long ago was a man called Yazid, and he killed a man called Hussein, and Hussein was the grandson of the Prophet, and I don't care. And for guy we say Yazid who drinks alcohol. So
I drink alcohol.
Yazid who was a womanizer. So they don't understand this kind of stuff. But what they do understand is, for example, again, justice, hope, peace, love, these values that are common between us as humans, not as individuals who are part of a certain race or a certain religious background or a belief. Then our beliefs could be, there's commonalities. Yani you believe in justice, I believe in justice. You believe in hope, I believe in hope. Then, so for me to reach that, I got to speak his language. Hajj Mustafa, I have to speak his language. The way I speak his language is through song. Yes, guys, sorry, songs. Songs. That's how I can reach him. Now, whether you want to come out and say, wallah, this marja said this and this marja said that, and this is haram and this is halal and this is... Habibi, at the end of the day, you have your own person, your scholar to refer to, and I have my own person, scholar to refer to, and alhamdulillah, shukr, no one's... Yani, it's...
As long as I put this quote somewhere the other day, I said, as long as you can put your hands on your heart...
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, or at that time when you want to leave this world and say, you know what, I did my best. I think that's what counts. And coming to I did my best, does Mullah Ali think he has done his best, or do you think you could have done more when it comes to English latmiyas, English poetry? Do you think you could have done more?
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about the community giving you a chance or your own. I'm talking about yourself and your capability and your connection and how many people you know and your PR and your marketing, how you've marketed yourself. How do you think you could have done more?
Yeah, the simple answer is yes. And obviously there are certain things that happen in my life that have limited the amount of impact that I can have in terms of maybe new tracks and new videos and new content. But in all honesty, it's just an excuse. Yani, if you really wanted to make time, you make the time for it. Yani, it's not. There's nothing that is holding you back other than yourself. And for me, you see, Hajj Mustafa, there was I was stuck between two worlds, because not a lot of people know that after Higher, I thought Higher was just dipping the toes to the whole world of songs. And after that, about a year and a half after that, I did a whole new album. To this day, what's it called? Beautiful Embrace.
Beautiful Embrace.
Yeah. And that was full on West Side. West Side? The West of singing and everything like that. With Higher, by the way, the album of Higher had a difference. There was a couple of
tracks,
a few tracks which were very alaqified, what people are accustomed to, and a few tracks which were like Higher, basically. But for the second album, it was
Beautiful
full
Embrace,
on. It was Beautiful Embrace, Higher times 5. And for that, it didn't really have an impact. If anything, really, maybe some of the tracks here and there were okay-ish, but didn't have the impact that I thought it could have, like Higher. And so my mentality kind of dipped a bit, and I'm like, who am I? Am I doing songs to reach a wider audience, but I can't, because people live off feedback. People live off people praising them sometimes. And that's why I was able to, in the Iraq, when I was first starting off, people were saying, look, this is nice, because I was getting feedback. People were telling me this is good, so I can carry on. But I can't, the average Joe wasn't telling me, yeah, this is great, I'm Muslim now. I can't, so because I wasn't getting any feedback from that side, and the immediate audience that I had didn't care of that world, it was like, I'm stuck. Like, do I do more of this stuff, but I can't see the reward of it? Or do I do the traditional Iraqi style stuff? And again, I don't really want to do that kind of things anymore, because I know there's a wider need for the wider audience and global, basically. And so I kind of dipped in a way. I was just doing odd things here and there, maybe a duet or one video a year. And so then I thought, okay, I found something that's probably in between.
Yeah, I was going to say, now you're sort of in the middle.
And yeah, I found maybe something that's in between. And that's when I started working with Akbar Foundation. Yeah. Akbar Foundation, Sayyid Haidar Nasrallah and Sayyid Mujtaba and Sayyid Murtada and the rest of the boys. I said to them, look, I have an idea. It might work. قال لي what? قال لي we have gems in the Ahlulbayt called dua and supplications. We have dua Kumail, we have dua Arafah, we have
Abu
Hamza, dua Nudba, all of these duas that are even dua Tawassul, for example.
Yeah.
On a weekly basis we recite them, but I'd love to bring them to life in a song. But not a song West, but a song شوي in between. But then I started to listen to people like Sami Yusuf and Maher Zain and people like that who are known Islamic artists, Islamic songwriters. Because I can then, so now I'm seeing that there is a bit of like, I could reach their maqamat because they were doing the Arabic style, but they're doing English with it as well. So I'm like, how do they do that? And then I found a bit of an in-between. So that in-between, I thought, look, let me get the supplications. So I did Dua Kumail and I did Dua Ma Ramadan.
Abu Hamza.
No. The one with Iftitah. Yeah, Iftitah. I did Dua Kumail with Akbar. And that was the one that was called I Turn. And I Turn was in Dua Kumail, right at the end, before the end of the dua, is فَإِلَيْكَ يَا رَبِّي نَصَبْتُ وَجْهِي وَإِلَيْكَ يَا رَبِّي مَدَدْتُ يَدِي. Yeah. So it's like, and to you, O Lord, I turn my face. I think that was the literal translation. So I use that. Because that's the part of the dua that everyone pays attention to. There are bits before. Yeah. Sometimes you just zone out. But when it comes to فَإِلَيْكَ يَا رَبِّي نَصَبْتُ وَجْهِي, everyone switches on.
Yeah, and you know it's coming to the end.
And you know it's coming. I know for me, by the way, Ya Rabbi, I know it's coming to the end.
Yeah, Ya Rabbi.
I know it's coming towards the end now.
Ya Sari' al-Rada.
Yeah. For that bit everyone pays attention to. So I thought, let me use that as the chorus. And so look, I found a bit of common ground, but still, it wasn't like a full-on campaign. Zian, it wasn't like in 2017, 2016, 2015. I didn't have, look, for the whole year, this is the number of albums that I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it. It wasn't like that. It was just like whenever an opportunity came across, I had to do it. Family, children, wife, the whole thing obviously had an effect. But again,
that's why you say you could have done more, because maybe okay. Where do you see yourself in the next few years? What's the direction you're going towards now?
صراحة,
Yeah, go ahead.
in all honesty,
I don't know.
in all honesty, I was, when Fatima came to Karbala, till this day, again, I have parents that when I see them face to face, they say, look, for example, Fatima. So I'm like, why am I, if children are influenced by that kind of world and latmiyat in that style, I can always work on the Sami Yusuf style stuff and things that people like to listen to, maybe in a car or anything like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what made me, what I grew up with, I feel like I just want to revert back to the beginning and just do latmiyat in English. Just do latmiyat in English. Work with someone, a studio that can maybe enhance how it sounds. Maybe go to the Middle East, for example, for inspiration there. But I feel like I just want to go back to the beginning, because when Fatima came to
the
Karbala,
roots,
the 15 years ago is still people are still talking about it today. So why don't I just go back to what I loved when I was younger? Go back to doing something I didn't like doing. Beautiful Embrace, and I fell out of love with it. I didn't like I was in a studio and I'm trying to sing it, and because I don't have any love for it, I tried to give it 100%, don't get me wrong, but I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it during the production, didn't enjoy it after. I was very, very half-hearted about it. Very, very half-hearted. Because it reached the stage where, look, I want to reach the wider audience, but then it reached the stage where I don't care. Like, I don't care. If we can produce stuff, Zain, there are a lot of people out there that can, but I want the next generation. I don't want to talk about the non-Muslims who may or may not be influenced by it. But our next generation, I have to do something for them, because we live in such a globalized world right now that I fear, and I think having a kid as well influenced that. I fear the next generation won't be as involved with the Ahlulbayt as we were. The weekly majalis, the weekly this, weekly that, the consistent way of remembering the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. That's how I grew up. That's how many of us grew up, who are still in the vibe of khidmah. But I want to produce stuff now that I know my kid will listen to. And he's not. I don't want him to listen to higher and stuff like that. I don't mind him listening to higher, but I want him to listen to latmiyat. That's why, by the way, when I go to my parents' house, I was like, Mom, just put as many latmiyat as you can. I don't have time. I don't have time to put latmiyat for him. I want him to grow up in the vibe of constant remembrance of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. But I can't do that because I'm not with him 24/7. So I tell my mum, listen, Mum, the same way you did to me, do to him. He's your son. If whenever he goes into your house, him and my daughter, just put as many latmiyat, and all she does is put latmiyat on. There are obviously sometimes you put like kids cartoons and stuff, but whenever there's a passing time, she'll put on latmiyat. I want him to know and understand, even if he doesn't understand it, but it's ingrained in him somewhere, that when he listens to it in 10 years' time, it clicks something. It clicks. That's important to me. So why not? I need to produce some stuff, produce some works that can give the parents the opportunity to give to their children, look, listen to this. Instead of listening to or even looking at Frozen and stuff like that. These things are okay. These things are nice.
Yeah, but you've got.
But I need something on the other side of that.
Well, you know what? Inshallah, you're successful in what you do. There's so much more I wanted to speak to you about, but sadly we have got to the.
I was enjoying it.
Yeah, I do this quick fire round with everyone. So 60 seconds. I've got a couple of questions. By a couple,
I've got 60 seconds to answer.
And you've got to answer them straight. First thing that comes to your mind, you say it.
Yeah.
We this sort of end with the light note on this podcast, but I'm definitely having you. And I was thinking maybe having a guest with you to speak about. I wanted to bring this up, but to speak about the youth work that you were just mentioning, as well as Harak al-Husayniyah. So inshallah, maybe we can have Haida with us next episode.
By the way, I didn't mention Haida. Haida's kind of starting to revolutionize a bit the English poetry, and I'll explain later, maybe another call.
Inshallah, definitely.
Another call, another session. Work.
Sounds like we're on the phone, isn't it, because of this? Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this. What is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
I grab my phone to see if there's an email.
What is your biggest addiction?
biggest addiction? My vape.
Who is the best ever Liverpool player?
The best ever Liverpool player?
Yeah, in your opinion.
I have to say Gerrard, but I don't really believe it's Gerrard, but go on.
So who do you believe it is then?
Personally, Suarez for me.
Okay. What is your best feature? That's gonna be
My best feature. I'm gonna have to say voice, don't I?
yeah, you have to say anything. Your favorite cuisine?
My favorite cuisine. I got 60 seconds to answer, yeah?
No, you've got the whole question.
The whole thing is 6 seconds.
there's like 10
my
questions.
favorite cuisine is bagel dihin. If it's done right, bagel dihin is amazing.
What is your favorite thing about your father?
His friendship to me.
Your favorite ever latmiya?
Weirdly, it's salam salam by Basim. Salam salam ala kilna. Okay.
Your favorite ever latmiya that you've recited?
No. Allah. Worlds Apart.
By Nouri
By Nouri
Saladar.
Saladar, yeah.
Your favorite ever movie?
Favorite ever movie?
Yalla, we're running out of
Really a
time.
movie kind of type. Film Rasala was really good. I like that.
Okay, interesting. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Live anywhere in the world, where would it be? Can I be honest?
Yeah, of course.
Kuwait. I'll explain later.
Okay, you don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
I would have thought you said Karbala, but
There's a reason why not, but okay.
Well, that was the last question.
Oh, was that the last question?
You done really well, bro.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your time, and inshallah we'll definitely have you on another podcast upcoming soon, hopefully with probably Haidar, because you mentioned Abu Amir has changed the way English poetry is written, and maybe one with Nouri as well, so why not?
I'd love to have another session with Nouri. I've had a couple where it's just me and him, but I'd love to be sat down with him and actually talk about it.
Inshallah, definitely. Him and Haidar maybe. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much,
and inshallah we'll see you very soon.
Inshallah.